Hey y'all, sitting over the Bulwark. I'm here in the morning Joe Green Room. I just got off MSNBC and I was with my girl Nicolle for the full hour. We talked about Howard Lutnick. It was so hard not to say Nutlick, about how he said the stupidest thing, well, the truth actually, with the Epstein investigation. And he, I think, really created a lot of problems for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Trump and their Epstein cover-ups. We talked about that. We talked about the shutdown and what Democrats could do. We talked about the insane policy towards bombing these ships in the Caribbean. Like, we're going to war with Venezuela now. There's a lot more on that coming. It was great. Good to be with Nicolle in person. We had a blast. So stick around. Subscribe to our feed right here. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Without further ado, here is Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Mr. Howard Lutnick, talking about Donald Trump's former friend, the dead sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein.
The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
What? What? He's so gross I brought my wife there? None of that makes sense. We should say, despite the fact that the American Secretary of Commerce said all those things, you should know there's no evidence that we're aware of at this time of wrongdoing by Bill Gates or other Epstein associates. But importantly, Lutnick is directly contradicting the Trump cabinet's statements and their official line on the Epstein case. The unsigned official memo that the Department of Justice released in July said this, quote, "This systematic review revealed no incriminating client lists. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions." So DOJ did not find what Lutnick just told us there. This is from Politico. Musk, Bannon, and Thiel named a new Epstein estate documents, quote, in what appears to be a copy of Epstein's itinerary. Elon Musk had a tentative trip to Epstein's Island on December 6, 2014. A note appended to the plan reads, quote, "Is this still happening?" At the time, Epstein owned a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Another schedule notes a planned lunch with tech billionaire Peter Thiel on November 27, 2017, and a breakfast with conservative political strategist Steve Bannon on February 16, 2019, just months before Epstein was charged with sex trafficking of minors.
Yeah. I had a couple thoughts about this. I think Tara knows this as well as anybody, but this wasn't 2003 or whatever. He'd already been arrested for sex trafficking minors in 2017 and 2019 when these guys were going to hang out with him. So they chose to do that. So you don't have to do the whole thing. We're like, well, we don't know if there's any, allegations of bad behavior. It's like just hanging out with this person and giving credibility to this person after he's already been convicted of sex trafficking minors is bad enough. The other thing I want to say about Lutnick, and this is going to maybe seem like a low blow, but it's kind of an important low blow, is that the Commerce Secretary is really stupid. Like in the cabinet of dumb people, like where you have a weekend talk show host and a fake wrestling executive, he stands out as the dumbest. And if you polled the cabinet, they would all say that he's the dumbest based on reporting. And that's important to say because sometimes dumb people just don't know how to cover up, how to stay in line with the talking points. All Lutnick is saying there is just the obvious truth, right? That you and I know, that Tara knows, as well as anybody, that Lutnick just, it isn't clicking with him. That he needs to go along with the plan as part of this cover up, right? That he needs to be saying these farcical lies that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are saying about how, the Justice Department doesn't know anything more about this, right? We know they're covering, we don't know exactly what they're covering up, but we know they're covering something up. We know that there were other co-conspirators at some level. We don't know exactly what.
Kash Patel knows, quote, "Put on your big boy pants and tell us who the pedophiles are."
Right. So it's obvious that there was some kind of co-conspirator. And to Tara's point, it's just the scale of the number of women, it's just not physically possible for it to have been just Jeffrey Epstein, right? And we know all these people went to the island after he was convicted. We know all this. And so all Lutnick is doing is he's just being dumb enough to say the obvious truth, which is that my fellow cabinet members and the President of the United States who I work for are covering up something related to this sex trafficking ring. And so we appreciate him for just telling us that.
For just someone just rolling the camera and putting the microphone in front of it.
Right.
I mean, let me come back to the politics of this, because in this sort of, we cover the moment as being dynamic and volatile, which it is, but not this issue. These have been the poll numbers for a long time now. This is NPR, PBS, Marist. Trump's handling of the Epstein files, 20% approve, 61% disapprove. NPR, PBS, Marist again. Should the Epstein files be released? Release all or some of the files, 90%. Like, you see 80-20 issues. I don't know that you see any 90% issues in American politics. There's no one that agrees with their current position, which is that, one, there's nothing to see here, and two, we're not going to seat the new elected member of Congress because we want to avoid this vote.
I mean, the 6% has got to be like Trump.
It's got to be the co-conspirators. There are that many of them that all of them responded to the Marist poll.
I guess. I mean, the 90-6.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, here's the bet that Trump is making, and he's made this in other issues, and we just don't know if it's going to work on this one, is that he can just gut it out. And he's never been on the wrong side of a 96 issue, but when he started doing the Stop the Steal stuff, everybody was like, this is crazy, you know, and then eventually everybody went along with it.
Well, because Kevin McCarthy goes down to Mar-a-Lago and resuscitates him.
Yeah, so that's probably not going to happen this time, you wouldn't think. But the bet that maybe where this risk comes on the bet is my colleague Will Sommer at the Bulwark, who kind of monitors the far right world. He just has an article just out today about how James O'Keefe, the Project Veritas guy, not my favorite character in the world, who does the undercover stings. Yeah. He still cares about, like, he's still going after Trump about this because that's what far-right people who are into conspiracy theories and into uncovering things do. Like, this is where the juice is, right? Then you have the Manosphere guys. Like, they're still going to talk about this. They're not here to, like, run cover for Donald Trump. They thought it was an interesting story. They don't want to be made to look like idiots. So it is a little bit different.
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different than some of those other more straight political issues where eventually everybody kind of folded to Trump. I think that the political elites, besides Lutnick, the smart political Republicans will get in line just because they probably don't think it's worth the fight and they're not principled. They've already folded on everything else. But what
if
voters,
this becomes
the
issue they get primaried on? I mean, the whole thesis of why the Republicans aren't doing their jobs anymore and why they go, I mean, no Republican was ever for tariffs. No Republican was ever against no Republican ever said it's a good idea to ignore the courts. Yep. I mean, they're doing things that they've never believed in or advocated for before, ostensibly because they're afraid of their base. What if the base cares more about the Epstein files than a lame duck president?
And at this point, they are making the bet against that. But I think it remains to be seen. I believe the Thomas Massie case is an interesting one. Like, him and Marjorie Taylor Greene are the one. I mean, it is like an interesting coalition of like the most MAGA and then like a handful of principled libertarians that have like taken the consistent line on this of wanting to release the files. So I think that a lot of these guys, again, it just comes back to cowardice. These guys are like, anytime you've bet against Trump within the Republican Party in a primary, you've lost. And so eventually that'll end. I don't know when. Maybe it'll be this. Hopefully it'll be this. But I think that explains their behavior.
Viewers of this program already know the government has ceased to function this week as Democrats and Republicans are right now deadlocked on funding, how to fund the government. Here's what Tim Miller told Jon Stewart yesterday about how Democrats don't have to explain health care premiums to convince voters that they are the better option compared to Trump's approach.
The malpractice here, in my mind, isn't messaging. It's that they don't know where they're messaging us to. They have not created a platform or infrastructure that addresses directly the needs. They are still dancing around the old paradigm.
Look, man, I agree with you. So I don't disagree that the Democrats should have a healthcare plan and the Democrats should have a vision and a direction and someone should emerge to try to lead them. But like, that's not actually necessary to be politically successful. I mean, as the former Republican here, may I remind you that Mitch McConnell did pretty good for a few years as the opposition to Barack Obama, just saying, you will do nothing. And I will blame everything that bad happens on you.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And to me, that's kind of like, that's a useful first step, right? Is fighting Trump, doing everything you can to slow him down. And then when bad things happen, many of them Trump is to blame for, so you can credibly say he's to blame for it. But even for some of the other ones, it's like, sorry, man, buck stops with you. You wanted to be authoritarian. This bad thing is happening. We're going to blame it on you, and we're going to do so relentlessly. And we're going to remind people why the current status quo sucks. And that's like an easier thing to do than what you're asking. And so I just feel like my suggestion to them might be like the first little baby step towards doing things better.
Maybe it's because we work for Republicans that we are like masters of the baby step. And I'll just leave it at that. But trying to like solve, a 3D puzzle isn't the mission. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, and the healthcare thing is complicated. I'm happy that they're talking about this. And there's a simple part of the healthcare issue, right, which is that people's premiums are going up right now. And it is Trump's fault. And so for these guys, the Democrats on the Hill, to go out there and say, that's Trump's fault. Your healthcare premium is going up. It's higher than it was last year. It's because they didn't, they don't have to come up with a plan for what their solution is because they have no power.
Correct.
Right? They have no power. They lost. And so the way to get back power is to reach people out there, not the MAGA ideologues, but the people who, for whatever reason, were unhappy with their lives and wanted to shake things up and wanted to, throw out the president in power. Well, now Trump is the president in power. And there's a lot of reasons for people to be unhappy with their lives. Nothing's gotten better for most working people, and a lot of things have started to get worse, right? And so that's the Democrats' job, right, is to go out there and make Trump hold the bag for all this stuff. And Trump, and you can see this in the administration right now, they're out there, saying, well, the administration is literally saying right now, we're going to stop funding projects. Like, you might be a worker. We interviewed a guy for the Bulwark who is a steel worker, I think, that works on wind turbines. That guy's going to lose his job. That's a working guy that had a project that was funded, and they're just cutting that. And they don't care. And they're going to try to blame that on the Democrats. And it's just the Democrats' job to say, no, sorry, you guys are in charge. Manufacturing jobs are going away, costs are going up, the government shut down. Come up with a solution. Do it. Let's figure it out. Like, you want to be in charge of everything, be in charge. And I think it's the Democrats' job to do that relentlessly and also everywhere. And I was saying to you before we got on, I watched Fox on the whole way up here. There's no counter message on there. And I don't know, maybe Fox isn't booking Democrats, maybe there are folks that are trying, maybe it just didn't happen in the 2 hours between New Orleans and New York. But that is their job right now. And I think that's a pretty doable job, even if you have some concerns about the Democrats in other areas.
I want to show you a poll that the Times has today. It's a Times Siena poll. Voters who think America's political system is too divided, 64%. It's like almost a 30-point jump, 30-point jump. It's a worse political climate than during COVID, when people were literally isolated and upset and scared and angry. A majority of Americans say they would describe America as a democratic country, still 55%, but 41% disagree, including 52% of Democrats and 40% of independents. So you've got, 40% who don't think we are still a democracy. This is the most interesting to me. Donald Trump's position right now, as publicly stated, is that he, quote, hates his opponents. A micro minority of Americans agree with that. When Democrats were asked whether they think of Republicans as the enemy or as fellow Americans, 10% chose the harsher description, and 14% of Republicans think of Democrats as the enemy. Donald Trump thinks all Democrats are the enemy. Donald Trump is doing something to Democratic-run cities. By taking away the counterterror programs in New York. Donald Trump spends a lot of time in New York. I don't even understand the sledgehammer he's taking to counterterror programs in New York. The revenge politics have the support of 10 to 14% of Americans.
Yeah. That's an encouraging poll, actually, because sometimes in our world of hyper-partisanship, you hear from the loudest voices, particularly on social media, who are kind of in that on both sides, and that of I see the other side as my enemy. And so, again, this is an area where Trump needs to be pushed outside of the mainstream, but you have to do that. You have to run a campaign against him to position himself there, because they do that. I know this is crazy to us and the people watching this, but it's just worth looking what they do strategically. They're all like, well, the Democrats call us fascists, and that's to blame for political violence. The vice president is out there doing that. Stephen Miller is out there doing that. It's BS. When you're on this show, you cover that, and you say, no, the only person that actually called Trump Hitler was the vice president and the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
America's Hitler, said J.D. Vance. And it's important on the fascist thing. fascism became a term attached to Trump when Bob Woodward's book came out, and he had reporting that said that 2 of his top generals described him as, quote, fascistic to the core.
Exactly.
That's when that coverage started.
So it's a legitimate point. I'm just talking about the rhetorical fight, right? Like they're like making it seem like the Democrats are the extreme and crazy ones. Going back to my watching the Fox yesterday, Fox only plays one clip of the most insane thing that Ilhan Omar said. It was the only Democrat I saw the whole 2 hours, you know?
And some of them are from like 2019.
Right, exactly. So it's not incredible. But the Democrats got to fight back and do that and go into those spaces and say, no, it's actually this guy that is the first president ever, or at least back to whatever, pre-Civil War times, that is like, no, our fellow citizens are the enemy within, and they're more dangerous than the enemy without, and we've got to target them. Like, we all see that, but that message has to go out there to more people. Need to understand the degree to which Donald Trump is pushing this type of division, and that's the way to start pushing people away from him again.
It's so no. I mean, it's all in an Aaron Sorkin script somewhere.
Yes.
I mean, this is the crime bill, right? I'm putting it in the drawer because there's no chance of actually fighting crime. I mean, this is like the fights that you don't engage are fights that are impossible for you to win.
Yeah.
Do you see any Democrat doing this?
Sure. I mean, we mentioned the last segment, Roe is out there with Massey. That's
Chris Murphy
notable.
and
Like Chris Murphy's out there doing it. I hate to like shutting it down. I guess I'll say what I don't see. And like, you know, Pete's out there doing interviews. You see some for Westmore. What I don't know is like, who is the Democrat that is carrying this fight right now about the Washington fight to the rest of America, not to just pro-democracy America, you know? And if that's not Hakeem or Chuck Schumer, and maybe Chris Murphy should be appointed to do that. And there are people that are capable. Maybe it should be Madeline Dean. You see Jared Moskowitz on Fox sometimes. There are people out there that can do it. And I do think that there needs to be more of a concerted effort to do it, though.
We in uniform are unique. We are unique among the world's armies. We are unique among the world's military. We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that it's America, and we're willing to die to protect it. The millions wounded in our nation's wars did not sacrifice their limbs and shed their blood to see this great experiment in democracy perish from this earth.
We're back with Helene and Tim. Tim, it was powerful when he said it. It's almost more eerie to hear it now in light of everything that Trump is asking of the military. And one of the things he's asking of the military is that they strike boats coming from Venezuela without providing evidence of the drugs he says are on them. And I wonder what you make of today's escalation.
I think it's great. I looked really quick on Milley. It's kind of melancholy and refreshing to hear that at the same time. It is crazy that we're not hearing more of that. So it's nice to hear that again. On Venezuela.
I should play it every day.
Yeah,
right?
really. I could hear it every day. I needed to hear it right now.
It's like the soundtrack for our times.
I think that, both on the policy and the politics, I think what they're doing in Venezuela is insane. And it's completely insane. It's like Venezuela isn't even the biggest country that brings drugs into our country. Even if you took this on the merits that we're going after drug cartels because we don't want drugs in this country, it'd be kind of crazy to start bombing drug cartels. But like Mexico, Colombia,
China.
Peru, Bolivia, China. I think Venezuela's like 6th or 7th. And so we're doing this, I guess, because Marco Rubio really doesn't like Maduro or because Trump's mad about something. Like, it's hard to even tell why we're doing this. Trump ran as the anti-war candidate. And some people believed him, by the way. He had some success running as that. And now he's going to change the name of the Defense Department of War, start an illegal war in our own hemisphere in the Caribbean for no really stated rationale. Like, it's unclear what even the rationale is. The New York Times was reporting 2 days ago that maybe we wanted regime change in Venezuela. We're going to do a Venezuela regime. I mean, we used to be Bush Republicans. Like, I'm for pro-democracy, but like that's not even what he's arguing. Like so we're going to do a regime change war in Venezuela because
we're gonna let
drugs.
Russia take Ukraine, but we're going to do regime change.
It makes no sense. It is insane policy. It is illegal, and I think it's potentially really bad politics for him with. Not like the Fox News watching part of the base, but the country, the country, the RFK crowd, and there's a lot of people in his base that don't want this.